In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the fader unit. And I want to start with the encoders at the top here. All of these encoders will access all the parameters for a Nuendo channel. Now, to the right of it, we have the section control. And the section control determines which part of Nuendo's mix console we're looking at with the encoders. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Nuendo's mix console, please refer to the tutorial found on Steinberg's YouTube channel. The section control up here switches the encoders between the various racks on the mix console. Inside each of the racks, the buttons up top switch between different frequency bands, for example on the equalizer, or between the different inserts, or the different sends. Let's take a closer look at each section. To begin with, we have the pre-section. This gives you access to the high and low pass filters on each channel. Next, we have the routing section. Here we can adjust the input routing and the output routing for each channel. To change the routing for the input, press the encoder, and then you can make a selection from the available inputs. The same is true for the output selection. On the output selection, with direct routing enabled, we can have up to 8 different output destinations per each channel. So we can use the slot selector up here to access the additional output routings. Next, we have the pan section, which gives you access to basic panning controls, left and right, and front to rear. After that, we have the sends. Since there are 8 sends in Nuendo, we have access to the 8 different slots up here. Once you've chosen a slot, and you select slot over here on the buttons beneath the top encoder, you can choose a destination for that aux send. Once a destination has been chosen, you can enable the aux send, make it pre or post fader, and adjust the send level. Next, we have the cues section. This gives you access to the 4 artist cue sends that you have in the control room. You can pick the cue on the slot control here, enable it, adjust the pan and level. This will help you create a headphone mix for the artist in the recording studio. Next, we have the EQ section. This gives you complete control over Nuendo's built-in channel EQ. There are 4 bands to the equalizer, so there are 4 slots available. In each slot, you have control over the gain, frequency, and cue for each band, including the special invert function, where you can invert the gain of that band. Next, we have the dynamics section. This gives you access to all the dynamics processors in the Nuendo channel, starting with the gate, then the compressor, then the transient shaper, the saturator, and finally the output limiter. We have access to all of the insert slots in the Nuendo channel. We can pick a slot and use the top encoder to choose a plugin to insert in that slot. When you press the encoder again, the plugin is inserted and the graphic user interface comes up on the screen, and all of the encoders are used to adjust the parameters of the plugin. Once you've adjusted your plugin, you can simply press the Insert button again to return to the channel view. If you want to reopen the plugin's user interface, press the E button here. To have more control over a single channel, we can use block mode, and that's accessed by pressing the blue E button on the individual channel strip. Now what happens is we see the representation of the entire channel on the screen, and all 32 encoders are used to control just that one channel. So here I have access to the equalizer, the dynamics section, the cues, some of the aux sends, and the pre-section over here. Now if I activate an individual section, then all of the encoders will be used to control just that section. For example, here's the equalizer. Now I have complete control over the EQ with all 16 of these encoders. This even includes filter type. Now if I move to the dynamics section, I can activate all the dynamics at once and have complete control over everything at the same time. In the sends section, I have access to all 8 sends simultaneously. In the pan section, we get access to the complete surround panner. All the parameters for the surround panner are mapped to these 16 encoders, including things like orbit and front focus and divergence controls. On the inserts section, we get access to all 8 inserts at the same time. If we go to the cues section, we can adjust all 4 cues simultaneously. On the routing section, we can adjust, obviously, the input routing, but then we have access to all 8 of the direct routing functions at the same time. In the pre section, we get access to not only the high and low pass filters, but also the input gain and polarity reverse. In this last section, we have the quick controls. Here, you can assign various parameters into a quick access layer in the Nuendo channel, and you have access to them right here on the encoders. Let's say you want to compare EQ curves from 2 different channels. For that, we can use dual block mode. That's accessed by holding down the Shift key and pressing another one of the E channels. Now, we have 2 channels displayed on the screen. 16 of the encoders will operate this channel, and the other 16 will operate that channel. If we go to the EQ section, we can now see the 2 different EQ curves and maybe make some adjustments. If you want to enter dual block mode very quickly, you can actually just press 2 E buttons simultaneously. Since the NUAGE mixer window is also a Nuendo mixer window, all the standard functions still apply. For example, I can copy EQ curves from one channel to another just by dragging them. I can even move individual bands from one channel to another. If you want to control more than one channel at a time, it's possible to link channels together. For that, select multiple channels and then hit the link button here. Now all the parameters of these channels are linked together. For example, I can route all these channels to the same destination in one move. I can also do things like adjust the pan position, and all of the channels will be linked together. Another powerful feature is the use of inserts with linked channels. Let's say I want to put a de-esser on all of these channels at the same time. Now I can take a look at the de-esser insert on all of these channels, and the parameters will be the same. They've all been adjusted together. This makes it very easy to work with multiple tracks at the same time. If you would like to temporarily link channels together, you can do that using the Quick Link feature. Select multiple tracks, then hold the Shift and the Alt key modifiers over here, and now these channels are all temporarily linked. If I enable the filters here, I can control all of them simultaneously, and then once I let go of the modifier keys, they are back to being under individual control. Any parameter that can be controlled with the encoders above can also be controlled with the faders below using the 2 flip modes. Depending on which row of encoders you want to operate with the faders, we have knob flip 1 and knob flip 2. Here, for example, I'm on the aux sends page, and I want to control the aux sends level here on knob number 2 with the faders. So I use knob flip 2 here. Now I have control over the aux sends with the faders down here. Now the same is true for anything you can control with the knob set. So if I go to the equalizer and use the flip mode, now I can control various parameters of the EQ with the faders. This is also true for inserts. If I call up this insert here, and the parameters are mapped to the top row of encoders, I can use knob flip 1 and have access to plug-in control with the faders.